Book one is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is a five-time founder and a coach to a Christian businessman, no other than Mr. Peter Awad.
You got it.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Peter. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, for sure, man. I've been in business for a long time since I was a little child, and post college, started in e-commerce in the year 2000. So, for the younger listeners, they're going to be surprised the internet was around then, and it was. Um, Worked in e-commerce for about 24 years, but all the while, for the majority of that time, well, a lot of that time felt like a square peg, like I was working on what I was good at, but not what I was great at. And so explored coaching about 5.5 years ago just to discover superpowers and then to figure out like where can I overlap those superpowers? Where can I overlay those superpowers to serve the world in a more succinct and deliberate way? And so discovered coaching for myself, like to be a coach about 3 years ago. And so founded Whitestone, where we coach Christian business leaders and we coach them on leadership, identity, and processes. And so that's what we do at Whitestone. And it's been a really profound experience to be able to live in my identity, to be able to live in that sweet spot of interest and desire and excitement and do the thing that I would do for free, but get paid well for it. And so it's one of those spots where I didn't realize that it existed. And it doesn't exist for all people, but it exists for most people, where they can take their superpowers and overlap it with um, where they want to show up and how they want to show up in the world. So that's a little bit about me.
Mr. Peter Awad, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So let's think about from burnout to breakthrough, the secret to leading your business with a peace and power. What inspired you to focus on the journey from burnout to breakthrough in your leadership work?
Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of folks that are out there they really don't know who they are and they don't know exactly what they're good at. And so they've either fallen into a career that was recommended to them by their parents or what they thought society wanted from them, or they're working on the first thing that they found interesting and they're kind of stuck in that career path. And the reason that a lot of folks are burnout, the reason that a lot of folks are dissatisfied in their careers, because they haven't taken the time to really figure out who they are, and as a Christian, whose they are, and then to work from that position of identity, to work from that position of superpower, in order to figure out what it is that they should be working on, what lights them up, what they're excited about, what they want to dig in on, what they find themselves talking about, even when people don't want to talk about it, that sort of thing. And so I think that we, for the most part, the majority of society can work on things that they're excited about. They can work on things that they're strong in versus just that first career that came to them. So that's why that's exciting to me, and because I think it's sad that we can go through life feeling burnout and feeling like where there's things that we should do, which I hate that word, or things that we have to do, which I hate that word too, and instead actually focusing on the things that are, that you were put on this earth to do, that light you up, that bring you energy. And it's not going to be like that all the time, but it can be like that a lot more than society and culture tells you is possible.
Can you share a personal story where you experienced burnout and found your own breakthrough?
Man, there are too many of those, and so one of the ones that I highlighted in my introduction is, at a moment where I felt like I was working on a project that was just completely draining to me, a business that was draining to me, and going on that on the journey of discovering superpowers. Like, what are those things that come naturally to me that don't come naturally to most people? What are the things that I'm excited about and I dig in on that nobody has to tell me or push me or encourage me to dig in on? Because I do it myself because I'm excited about. and then to figure out how those superpowers can overlap onto a career or career path that's for me. And so in that journey of discovery, which it took a while, it took a couple of years, discovering superpowers, discovering opportunities to flex those superpowers in the world. That was probably the most profound journey from burnout to breakthrough that I've ever had in my life, because I realized that the things that I was doing for fun were actually things that I could do to get paid for. There were actually a business model embedded in there that I was completely blind to. And I was blind to them because I was just kind of doing the thing that I've been doing forever because I was good at it, and it produced quite well for us actually. But it was kind of, I don't know if I'd call it golden handcuffs, but it's really easy to get comfortable, and it's really easy just to do the thing that you've always done because it comes easy to you and you've built some muscle memory there. And it's very painful to then take and go from that to something else that's new. But a lot of times it's going through those tough things that allows you to get to the other side and have that breakthrough, as you put it.
Mister, what are the early signs of burnout that leaders often overlook?
Early signs of burnout. I don't know about early signs. There are definitely clear signs. There are
Okay.
very clear signs of burnout. A lot of times it's your physical health that's going to go first because you don't have the time, or you can't make the time, or you feel like there's not an opportunity to continue to take care of yourself physically. And then we start eating junk, and then we start feeling bad, and then we start sleeping poorly. And so I would say for a leader that's not sure whether they're burning or not out or not, they should audit their sleep schedule. They should audit their actual schedule. And so one thing that I think is really interesting for leaders to go through is give me a list of the things you tell me are most important. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, my family, my faith, my friends, my health. And then let's look at your actual calendar and show me where those things exist. And a lot of times they're nowhere to be found. They're not scheduled, or they're scheduled in the minority, and the majority of it are meetings with people you don't know to work on things you don't like, or that aren't that interesting. And so that to me is a great way to see if there's if your priorities and what you say are important or incongruent with how you're actually scheduling your life. That would be a great indication that you're heading towards burnout, if not there already.
Very well said, Mr. Peter. Beautifully, beautifully articulated. What does a breakthrough look like for a leader who has been burnout?
I think very similar to the story that I gave you earlier. You start to feel like you can breathe again.
Mm.
You start to be excited about getting up in the morning and working on the thing. Monday isn't something to be dreaded. Friday isn't something to be celebrated. And so someone who's feeling that breakthrough, they're going to feel like they can actually breathe. That weight on your chest that's there from morning to evening, that tossing and turning in your bed in the middle of the night because you're not really sure how you're going to make payroll, or you're not really looking forward to that meeting you're having tomorrow. Those things start to go away. You actually will start to remember how you used to feel before you're in that state. And so someone who's been in a state of burnout for a very long time, it's going to become their normal, and they're not even going to remember what it felt like to not live that way. It's going to feel very unfamiliar.
How do peace of power coexist in effective leadership?
Say that again.
How do peace and power coexist in effective leadership?
Peace and power. It's a very interesting question. I think that so we have a phrase here, and it's from my friends over at Giant, that you have nothing to hide, nothing to prove, nothing to lose. And this idea that a lot of us have this wall of self-preservation up, and those bricks in that wall are trying to hide something, trying to prove something, trying to keep from losing something. And that will keep you from having influence and impact and relationship with people. So when you ask about peace and power, I think it's a very peaceful and powerful position to be in when you've got nothing to hide, nothing to prove, nothing to lose. See, one of my favorite things is when I'm in a meeting and someone is dropping a bunch of acronyms and they're acting like I should know what they're talking about. And I say, hey, time out. I don't know what are you talking about? What is that? I'm sorry. I'm not familiar with what you're talking about. You see, because I don't have to prove anything. I don't have to hide the fact that I don't know anything. I don't have to be worried about losing face or saving face or however you want to put it. And I would say that that is a great example of peace and power. It's a peaceful state to just have nothing to hide, nothing to prove, nothing to lose. And it's a very powerful position to be in where you don't feel like you need to prove or hide or keep from losing something.
Definitely. And let's talk about leadership and inner transformation. What role does self awareness play in transforming burnout into renewed purpose?
Well, if you aren't self aware and you aren't in a position where you're willing to tell the truth, then you can't get from burnout to breakthrough. It's not possible. And Daniel, you probably have examples in your life where you're talking to somebody or they're asking for your advice and you're giving it and they're making excuse after excuse about why what you're saying won't work, why what you're saying is not real, why what you're saying is not a good solution for their situation. And it's very obvious to you that it is, but they're refusing to believe it. And so I think that a lack of self awareness reminds me of someone who has a fixed mindset versus growth mindset. A lack of self awareness is going to be an impediment between you and breakthrough. You see, you have to come to terms with the fact that you're not living a life worth living, or that you're in a state of burnout, or that what you're doing is not working. And only a self aware person can be truthful. Only a self aware person is willing to see themselves for who they really are. And only a self aware person can actually break through um, that stumbling block or that roadblock between you and the breakthrough. So I think that it's critical.
Critical indeed. In what ways does emotional intelligence help prevent burnout?
Hmm. Emotional intelligence and burnout. That's an interesting connection. Um, I don't know that it's related to burnout. I think that, emotional intelligence. So I like to think about emotional intelligence and personal intelligence. And so they're different. Emotional intelligence to be able to read the room and being able to see how um, you affect the room, how you affect the people, how you affect the energy in the room, and adapt to that. Personal intelligence is an ability to see yourself for who you really are and all the things that I just talked about when it comes to self awareness. And those intersect with actual intelligence, like your ability to actually do the job. And so the intersection of those three things is a sign of whether you're a healthy leader or not a healthy leader. I don't know that they're related directly to burnout. I don't. I think that's maybe a little bit more of an odd question, or maybe I'm not understanding it. But emotional intelligence, it plays a critical role in your leadership and your ability to lead teams. If you can't walk into a room and understand how you affect the energy of that room and the communication in that room, then you've got a big problem. A lack of relational intelligence won't allow you to have the influence and the impact you need as a leader in order to get out of them what you need, in order to help them get out what they need. And so I would say that relates to leadership in that way.
Mr. Peter, as a five-time founder and coach to a Christian businessman, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Short term and long term are very much the same. Short term is um, a measurement on our influence and impact in the world. You see, us living out our coaching journey here at Whitestone is helping our leaders bear fruit and helping the fruit bear fruit. And so our short term and long term goal is they're both the same. It's us helping leaders to see themselves and know themselves and be able to lead themselves well so that they can then do the same, turn around and do the same for their team members and their families and their communities and themselves. So um, that's our goal, and that will always be our goal, is helping leaders level up in a way that they don't know how to right now, giving them tools or sharper tools so that they can live out their full calling and potential here on this earth.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Peter, and looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be like you?
People that want to be like me, I don't know that I want anybody to be like me. I want them to be like themselves. But I understand the question. I think that um, I want folks to pause and stop moving so quickly into the direction where they feel like they need to move, and instead to really like ruminate on and ask questions. And if they're Christians, then ask the Father, ask God what He wants them to know, and really think about those things in a way that they maybe haven't thought about them before. You see, a lot of us are moving so quickly, and we're making decisions so fiercely out of fear that we're not stopping to really rise above it and zoom out. I think a lot of us need the 30,000 foot view of our life and really ask some hard questions of like, what are we working on and why are we working on this? Why this thing? Why this avenue? Why this project? Why this place that we're living? Why this lifestyle that we're living? So they can make some hard decisions. And maybe they need to zig instead of zagging. Maybe they need to go left when everybody else is going right, instead of just running through life with their eyes closed. And so I always like to think that you've got a lot of people that are running around and their forehead's bloody and they don't know why, and it's because they're running around with their eyes closed and they're running into walls. And so my advice is to just to open your eyes, stop, take a breath, zoom out, ask some hard questions, make some tough decisions.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Peter. And can you please recommend a book that influenced your journey?
Yeah, I've got a ton of them, but one of them in particular would be Living Fearless by Jamie Winship. It's about identity. It's about calling. It's about um, identifying fears and figuring out how to replace those with truth. And so that's had a massive impact on me and my wife. It's had a massive impact on my clients. And so I highly recommend that book to the viewers and the listeners.
Yes, highly recommended, people. And thank you so much, Mr. Peter, for your recommended book. What is the one truth about leadership and burnout you wish everyone understood?
I think it's more of the same of the questions that you've asked me. I think that you really need to know your leadership style. And so I would say that some of the leaders that are burned out, they're trying to make their leadership look like someone else they admire. They're trying to lead like someone else. They're trying to lead in their style. They're trying to lead in that voice. And instead, knowing who you are and how you want to operate. I'm dealing with a client right now, and he's in one of our group cohorts, and he's just talking about how he took a business over from his dad. And his dad had a very, very different leadership style. And he was trying to lead like his dad led, but it just didn't seem to work. And it was causing a lot of friction. So instead, I think identifying your leadership style and owning it and showing up the way that you were meant to show up and within your personality and your superpower, that's critical.
Critical indeed. How can leader use their personal breakthrough to empower their team?
Oh, I mean, that's simple. That's maybe the easiest. I think that, in order to um, help and encourage the team, in order to have them have breakthrough, you need to have your own. So you can't give what you don't possess. You can't take people farther than you've taken yourself. And so once you've had that breakthrough and once you understand the mechanics of how that works and you've gone through that discovery process, it's much easier to take people on that journey because you've done it. And so they, my friends always use a climbing analogy. So it's like you can't take people higher up the mountain than you've gone. How could you do that? You don't know how. You've never seen the terrain. You don't know what tools to use. You don't know how fast to go. You don't know when to go left or when to go right. But once you've done that, you can go back down the mountain and you can help people go up the route you just took. And you can lead them through the journey you just went on.
Mr. Peter, how does a company culture contribute to either burnout or breakthrough?
Leaders define culture. So if you're a burnt out leader, you're going to create a burned out culture. It's simple. If you're working too many hours, guess what? You're going to be surrounded by a bunch of employees and team members that are working too many hours. And so you as a leader, you define the culture, good or bad. And so again,
Indeed.
it's up to the leader to make the change that they want to see in that culture.
Yes. Be the leader, people. Role model. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, Mr. Peter, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course, my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in fourth season, as well as my movie 101 review and music 101, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Mr. Peter, if a leader is listening right now and feels burnout but unsure where to start, what would you tell them?
You need a coach or mentor. And I don't care if that's me or somebody else, but you need someone who's farther along in the journey to see what you don't see. You need to have self awareness to be open to see the things that you don't want to see so that you can make the change. And so this is like a cabinet maker who never got trained to make cabinets, doesn't have resources on how to make cabinets, using whatever tools are in front of them. It might make an okay cabinet, but it's never going to be great. But you have someone show you how to use the tools. You have someone give you better tools, sharper tools. They teach you how to use the tools. It's critical to be surrounded by other leaders that will guide you along in the journey that are farther along than you are. And so whether that's a mentor, a coach, a whole group of other leaders, I don't care what it is, but you need to be surrounded by people that are farther along that can help you up the mountain.
Mr. Peter Awad, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, or any projects that you're doing right now?
If they would like a free leader guide, they can check out whitestonecoach.com, or they can text 2 words Whitestone to 55444 and we'll send you a free leader guide.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Peter because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering coaching to come, and for sure, more and more empowering advocacy to come. So, Mr. Peter, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, man. Have a good day.
More to come, people. See you soon.